Just moments ago, shocking news about Rick Harrison sent waves of heartbreak through fans around the world. The man known for his confidence, sharp negotiations, and unbreakable composure is now facing a pain deeper than anything cameras ever captured. For years, viewers saw Rick as steady and unshaken, someone who could handle pressure with ease. But behind the familiar smile and calm voice was a storm quietly building. This tragedy didn't happen on television. There were no dramatic edits, no background music, no closing credits. It unfolded in real life, raw, silent, and devastating. Rick Harrison, a man who spent decades telling the stories of other people's treasures, is now carrying a loss too heavy to explain. Fans noticed something was different. His energy changed. His silence grew louder. And today, that silence finally speaks. This is not just a story about fame or business. It's about grief, regret, and a man learning how to survive the moments no one prepares you for. Rick Harrison has always been a man of control. In business, in negotiations, and in front of the camera, he rarely let emotions take over. But pain doesn't ask for permission. It finds its way in, quietly reshaping everything. Those closest to Rick say he withdrew, choosing silence over explanation, routine over reflection. Unlike the dramatic moments viewers expect, Rick didn't cry publicly or speak openly. Instead, he did what he always does, kept moving. He showed up, worked, smiled when required. But behind closed doors, the weight of loss pressed down harder each day. This wasn't the first time Rick faced tragedy. Loss had visited him before, leaving scars that never truly healed. Yet this time felt different. Deeper. More complicated. Because some pain comes not just from losing someone, but from everything left unsaid. Rick Harrison didn't just lose a loved one. He lost the chance to fix the past. And that kind of pain doesn't fade, it settles in. Pain doesn't fade, it settles in. On November 5, 2025, Rick Harrison's world quietly changed forever. His mother, Joanne Harrison, passed away at the age of 85 in a Las Vegas hospital. There were no public statements filled with emotion, no interviews explaining his heartbreak. Just silence. Their relationship in recent years had been complicated. Distance, legal battles, and unresolved tension had created a divide that time never repaired. And when death arrived, it closed the door permanently. No second chances. No final conversations. People close to Rick say the loss hit him harder than expected. Not just because she was his mother, but because of everything that remained unfinished. Regret has a way of growing louder after someone is gone. Rick had faced death before. He knew grief. But this loss carried something heavier, a realization that some wounds never heal, and some apologies never get spoken. For a man who values history, this became the chapter he could never rewrite. Grief does not always come with tears. Sometimes it comes with silence, with late nights, and with thoughts that refuse to rest. For Rick Harrison, the loss of his mother reopened memories he had tried to bury for years. Conversations that never happened. Words that were never spoken. Apologies that came too late. Those close to Rick believe this loss weighs heavily because of guilt. Not guilt from lack of love, but from distance. Life, business, pride, and public pressure slowly created walls between them. And now, with his mother gone, those walls can never be taken down. Rick has built his life on understanding history, yet his own past now haunts him. He knows better than anyone that time increases value, but only if you still have it. This loss taught him a painful truth: some things cannot be negotiated, repaired, or bought back. Once they're gone, they are gone forever. In 2022, a legal battle exposed deep fractures within the Harrison family. Rick's mother, Joanne Harrison, filed a civil lawsuit against him, the pawn shop, and related business entities. For fans, the news was shocking. For the family, it was devastating. The lawsuit alleged that Joanne had been pressured into signing away her majority ownership of the shop years earlier, during a period when she was recovering from a coma. She claimed decisions were made while she was vulnerable, raising painful questions about trust and control. Rick publicly denied the accusations, stating they were untrue and suggesting outside influences played a role. But regardless of legal outcomes, the emotional damage was undeniable. What had once been a family business rooted in legacy became a battlefield of pride, hurt, and misunderstanding. For Rick, this was not just a lawsuit, it was the moment private family wounds became public scars. Running a family business is never simple. When fame, money, and legacy collide, emotions often explode. For the Harrisons, the pawn shop was more than a store, it was their identity. And when ownership was questioned, everything became personal. The lawsuit drew massive public attention, forcing Rick to defend himself not only as a businessman, but as a son. Fans debated. Media speculated. But behind the headlines was a family struggling with years of unresolved tension. Rick continued working, filming, and managing the shop, as he always had. But those who knew him noticed the change. He was quieter. More guarded. Carrying a burden he refused to explain. The legal battle eventually faded from the spotlight, but its emotional impact never did. When his mother passed away, the weight of that unresolved conflict returned, stronger and more painful than ever. Some wounds don't bleed. They stay hidden, waiting for the moment that hurts the most. Long before fame and fortune, Rick Harrison learned what loss felt like. He was born into a family shaped by hardship, responsibility, and early tragedy. His sister Sherry, who was born with Down syndrome, passed away at just 6 years old. Rick was too young to remember her clearly, but her absence left a permanent mark on the household. His father later described Sherry as the light of my life, a phrase that echoed through Rick's upbringing. Loss became something familiar, something quietly endured. Growing up with a father frequently away due to military service, Rick learned independence early. Emotional expression was limited. Strength was expected. These early experiences shaped Rick into someone resilient, but guarded. Someone who learned to move forward without fully processing pain. And as life continued to take from him, again and again, that pattern never changed. Loss didn't break him. It hardened him. At just 8 years old, Rick Harrison was diagnosed with epilepsy. The condition confined him to bed for long periods, separating him from a normal childhood. While other kids played outside, Rick lived in isolation. But that isolation became his escape. Books replaced people. Knowledge replaced fear.